We've seen some trades from the 2023 NHL trade deadline already paying huge dividends in the Bertuzzi and Orlov deal, the Korpisalo and Gavrikov deal, but to me, the most clutch and the best trade of the deadline up to this point has been Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. But from day one, this trade for the Leafs was absolutely fantastic, but just how good has it panned out, and how has Ryan O'Reilly and Acciari changed this Leafs roster? Watch till the end for the complete breakdown and hit that subscribe button for daily hockey content right throughout the playoffs. You won't want to miss it. Now, back in the 2023 trade deadline, the Blues had already traded Vladimir Tarasenko well beforehand, but it sent a clear message that this Blues team was going in the selling direction, and there was a couple of key pieces that we knew were likely to be dealt in Ivan Barbashev and Ryan O'Reilly, who would later be traded to the Leafs on February 17th in a monster deal. It was a big three-team trade, which involved Toronto getting Ryan O'Reilly, Josh Pillar, and Noel Acciari. The Blues ended up getting Adam Gaudette, Mikhail Abramov, a first in 2023, a third in 2023, and a second in 2024, and the Wild retaining a bunch of salary on Ryan O'Reilly's deal and getting a fourth-round pick in 2025. In just his first game as a Leaf, Ryan O'Reilly was making an impact, had pretty good assist here against the Montreal Canadiens, got it along the boards, gave it to Yarncroc, who gave it to Bunting for an excellent feat. But just a couple of games later, the Ryan O'Reilly era in Toronto would really start. Just a few minutes into the game versus Buffalo, which would later be a 4-point hat trick performance, Ryan O'Reilly started to really get going. And of course, what we've seen with the trades of Nick Foligno in the past, there have been times where these older forwards haven't really fit in the Leafs roster. But Ryan O'Reilly from the get-go was a huge part of the team and wasn't one of the boys. He was one of the men on this Leafs roster, getting things done when they truly needed it. And Ryan O'Reilly would finish his regular season in 13 games, getting 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points, 61% on the face-off dot, as well as 10 takeaways and 8 even strength points. He was absolutely brilliant for Leafs, on top of getting a game-winning goal as well. Ryan O'Reilly cemented himself already. But of course, the questions always become with Toronto, what will the playoffs provide? And so far, he's been one of the most effective and clutch players in the entire league. In game one, when the Leafs were down bad, down 3-0 on the power play, they needed a spark. They truly needed something. And off of Tavares' pass, Ryan O'Reilly, perfect, and it's past Andre Vasilevskiy. And even though they wouldn't end up winning this game, this would actually start a little bit of a comeback for Toronto that obviously didn't end up working out. But Ryan O'Reilly was the motor. He was the one getting it done when they truly needed it most. And for Toronto, that would still stay consistent throughout this series so far. But even though the Leafs would lose this game, of course, he got the goal that got him back into the game, 64.7% on the dot, as well as 2 hits. It wasn't his fault necessarily. He was getting the job done and was doing his job, simply put. And in game 2, in a pretty huge win for the Leafs, he ended up getting an assist on the power play goal, which got John Tavares the hat trick and everything. But even during the game was still doing the most, 57% on the dot. You got 3 hits on top of that, 6 shots on goal. He was pouring on the pressure and was doing a lot of the right things again. But in game 3, this is where the legendary status for Ryan O'Reilly truly started to come up. In the first few minutes of the game, which is always just so important in every single game, especially when you're on the road like Toronto is. They got a rush here, Acciari, Knies, and Ryan O'Reilly, and it was included in the give and go, and a fantastic goal by Acciari, who was, of course, in the Ryan O'Reilly deal, getting a humongous goal to put the Leafs on top 1-0. And of course, then we go on to the biggest of goals. With a minute to go in the third, the Leafs down by 1. They needed a clutch goal. They needed something. Willie puts it in front, and Ryan O'Reilly is right there to bang it home on Vasilevskiy. A perfect play, using his skates to get the puck back to himself and putting it just in the tiny hole that Vasilevskiy would give him. It's 3-3 Toronto, and in the biggest game of the season, Ryan O'Reilly is the one to get it done. But this is another moment where Ryan O'Reilly comes up huge for the Leafs. 47.7 seconds to go in the first overtime. It was 3-3 tied still because of Ryan O'Reilly's goal. Huge face-off here in the offensive zone. The Leafs are getting battered. They're getting abused in this overtime. But Ryan O'Reilly comes in with the slick, clean face-off win, and Morgan Rielly puts it home for the overtime winner. But that goal would have never happened if, 1, that face-off win didn't happen, and 2, it wasn't so perfect right on the stick of Morgan Rielly and created all the confusion in front. Ryan O'Reilly with the face-off win, the assist on the game-winning goal, and now because of him, the Leafs are up 2-1 against Tampa Bay. But sometimes in the playoffs, it's those little tiny moments, it's those little tiny plays that add up to wins and goals in the end. And we've seen throughout countless times this playoff series how Ryan O'Reilly has been the one to get it done, making that play off his skate to get it to himself, making that face-off win. It's the little tiny things like that, applying the physical pressure when it's needed, getting things done in the offensive zone. That's what Ryan O'Reilly's game has always been, but that's what he's bringing to this Leafs squad that they did not have whatsoever as much as Ryan O'Reilly does this season. What he's been able to provide has been exponential. And of course, besides those 3 points, he got 61% on the dot, and of course the face-off win that led to the game-winning goal. 3 hits, 3 blocks, 3 shots on goal. He was all over the ice and instrumental to the Leafs' success thus far. But it's the way he's also carrying the Leafs offensively, and with what we've seen, not just the points, putting up 5 points in 3 games and coming up with 2 points in the biggest moments of the season, it's also just the general play. When we look at the Leafs 5-on-5, in terms of expected goals for per 60, Ryan O'Reilly is first with 3.49. Closest behind him is William Nylander with 3.42. But among forwards, it's Ryan O'Reilly and Nylander really carrying the load. But Ryan O'Reilly has been the best 5-on-5. And in those big, true, amazing moments, Ryan O'Reilly has come up big, not just with the offense, but with the face-off wins and everything. And that type of play down the lineup, having that type of center down the lineup is something that Toronto never quite had. And especially when you compare it to a trade like the Nick Foligno deal, it's night and day. Ryan O'Reilly feels like he's been here forever and has been in these moments forever, and he's proving it with the Leafs. That true winning blood. He has it right now, and he's had it all this time, and putting that on this Leafs roster has been fundamental for them. And that's not even talking about the other player they got in the trade, Noel, who has had a pretty solid role defensively in a shutdown role for the Leafs so far. Obviously, he had that opening goal in Game 3 for 1 point in 3 games. But outside of that, the defensive play, he has 19 hits in 3 games so far in this series, been absolutely instrumental in that physically, as well as having 5 blocks in the series so far. So defensively, he's putting in his own as well right now. And with how good offensively Ryan O'Reilly has been, it's been the best of both worlds. They've gotten a great physical shutdown guy in the trade, and they gotten their great offensive clutch guy in the trade. And for the Leafs, it was the exact trade they needed. Who cares if they give up a first-round pick? They're seeing some playoff success now, and that's all that matters. And now when you look at the career in the NHL playoffs, it's actually insane to look. Ryan O'Reilly has 61 points, 24 goals, 37 assists in 67 playoff games, and has just been all over the ice in every single one of them. But especially face-off wise, has always been perfection, and especially in these last couple of years has really perfected that. With Toronto, we've seen just how good it's gotten, but that clutchness, that gene, very few players are able to consistently have it, yet Ryan O'Reilly has consistently had it. And with Toronto, he's been doing it every single game. But especially if they don't have Ryan O'Reilly, obviously Game 2 might not have been so much different, but it definitely would have been a lot less effective. But Game 3 would have been completely different. The Lightning were outplaying the Leafs. The Leafs did not deserve to win that game, let's be honest. But Ryan O'Reilly and that clutch gene were able to get it done in the right moments. And that's all what the playoffs are about. It doesn't matter who plays out each other. All that matters is those wins. And especially in those big moments, getting those wins, Toronto hasn't had that in the past. Now, potentially, they have that. And that's irreplaceable. That's invaluable. That's the only piece the Leafs truly needed. And who cares if they give up a first, a second, a third? That type of piece for Toronto, they'd pay so much more for if they knew what they were getting on O'Reilly. I guarantee it. But they got it for, I think, a pretty solid price. Let us know what you guys think about Ryan O'Reilly so far and his impact on the Leafs, as well as Noel, and what do you think maybe the best trade of the deadline has been up to this point? Is it the Ryan O'Reilly deal? Is it something else? Let us know down below. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for more breakdowns just like this. Have a fantastic day and share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online, all the Leafs fans you guys know online. Click this card for all my hockey playoff content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan, and have a great one. Goodbye.